Hey y'all, hold on. Do I have stuff on my face? I'm trying to be professional. Okay. So hold on. Alrighty. Okay. Good morning. Good morning. I hope you all can hear me. Today is Saturday, December 11th. And I'm so happy to be here with y'all. So, welcome. I am your hostess for this hypnosis. My name is T, and I am here to bring you the latest shenanigans, white shenanigans, that has been going on. Today we will be talking about a history of Black paranoia. Today is the second episode of the many ways white supremacy has got me fucked up. Okay, this is the second episode. And like I said, I'm happy to be here. Like I said, we're gonna be discussing a history of Black paranoia. The reason why I want to get into this topic is because when we talk about Black people like being paranoid, and when we talk about like white supremacy as a paranoia when it comes to white people, when it comes to Black people, I think that it can easily be like it, because the what is it, the veil, you know what I'm saying, or more I'm trying to find the word, the sheet, the wool being pulled over somebody's eyes, is white supremacy, right? Having the wool being pulled over your eyes is white supremacy. And then also not being able to, like, you can't see it because the wool's over your eyes, so you can't see the shit. And then you got people who are white that tell you history from a white perspective and a white point of view. So when we talk about Black paranoia, like when we talk about white supremacy, it's a lot of people out here that'll be like, yeah, that don't exist, or that's not a thing, or they just refuse, Black and white people, they just refuse to believe that there's a system as to why Black people are in the position that they are in today. So we're gonna be looking at that. I don't know if any of that shit made sense of what I just said, but no, like, Black people are not paranoid, and we do have a legit reason to feel a way when it comes to our place in this society. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into it, because we're gonna take it from a historical standpoint, and then at the end, I want you to tell me, is this quote unquote paranoia, is it really like valid? You know what I'm saying? So let's come on. Let's go ahead and get into it. Not trying to have y'all here all day, because I'm not trying to be here all day, because I got shit to do. Okay? Excuse me. So let's go ahead and get popping. So I'm going to go ahead and make my screen bigger on my end. I hope you all can hear me. I'm trying to hold on. I'm trying to work my not work my mic, but let me just take it off charger. I'm trying to put my phone by my mic so y'all can hear me better. Oh, there we go. That's what I needed. Oh, yeah, I like that. Okay. All right, here we go. There we go. Had to get that together. Okay. So, yeah, let me go ahead and play this for y'all. All right. So, today's episode, like I said, is a history of Black. Can I move this? A history of Black paranoia. And once again, welcome to the second episode of the many ways white supremacy has got me fucked up. Like I said, I am your hostess for this hypnosis. And I am here to give you the latest dose of white shenanigans occurring against Black folks on a daily. All right. And if I did not state the date, today is Saturday, December 11th, 2021. Okay, so let's get into this. So we're gonna talk a little bit about briefly. We're gonna be talking about a little bit of the government operations. Okay, so before we get into the nitty-gritty of everything, let's just discuss for a moment how government works and how which branch is the most important branch. So the most important branch of government is the legislative. Can't even talk today. Legislative branch. Okay, this branch is made up of Congress, which is also made up of the Senate and the House of Representatives. Okay, this branch controls education laws, labor laws, housing laws, and the legislative branch had the ability to declare war. All right. Any citizen, oh, I'm sorry, did I? Any legislator that you may think is a basic right as an American citizen, such as food, housing, education, labor, and the environment, like any laws due to the concerning the environment, is created by the legislative branch of government. Okay, so any legislator that you that just rules your day to day, your food, your housing, education, labor, all that good stuff is ruled all by the legislative branch of government. All right, so now that we have an understanding of which branch is most important, which branch you should look at when it comes to these different regulations regarding your day-to-day activities, legislative branch is the branch you need to start looking at for those things. Okay. Okay. So let's move on. So like I said, I got a little photo here so you can see the legislative, executive, and judicial. All right. So those are your three levels of government: legislative, executive, and judicial. Okay. Judicial has everything to do with the courts. Executive, that has everything to do with the president. And then the legislative has everything to do with your Senate and your House of Representatives. Okay. All right. So let's also get into this. Okay. So I want you to have an understanding of how American government works. I want people to learn and to know what exactly how the government works and what branches are what. Okay, I want you guys to have a basic understanding of that. So we had that, right? So back during slavery, you had this thing called the 3/5 compromise. Okay, you have to think that in certain states, southern states, okay, let's just put it in perspective like this: America is a new land, right? It's a new country. It hasn't been developed. All right. We don't even, at this point in time, I don't even think we have Louisiana as a state. We don't have the West, I'm assuming, yet. So it's not like we had the whole 50 states as you see it now. Remember, we had to start small. We only had 13 colonies. Okay. So you have to think within these little 13 colonies, those 13 colonies, not all of them, but some of them in the South had slaves. So out of those 13 colonies, you had a lot of enslaved people. Okay. So you have to think numbers wise. Okay. Let's look at the numbers. Numbers wise, there were a lot more enslaved people than there were white people. Okay. I don't like how this is having this glare back here. Oh no. Can y'all still see me? All right. So yeah. So you have a lot of black people in these colonies, in these beginning states. All right. So since there were more enslaved people than white people, the government, American government, came up with this compromise, 3/5 compromise. Okay. And it was an agreement between delegates from the North and the South. And they pretty much was like, okay, yeah, we're going to use this 3/5 compromise for the enslaved population. So we could use it for tax purposes and representation purposes. This is why we have 3/5 compromise. 3/5 compromise came out of the problem of one, having way more enslaved people, black people, than white people. Okay. So when we're talking about taxes, enslaved people we ain't paying no damn taxes. We were seen as property. And when it came to representation, okay, we couldn't do any of that either because it was barred from us. So what they did was they made every enslaved person 3/5 of an individual, of a human being. All right. So you got states. I always use South Carolina because that's the one, like the most easiest state that I can really like identify when it comes to having a population that outnumbered the white population. So the whole problem with that was it created a dilemma, right? It created a dilemma with, all right, so if we take the state of South Carolina, let's just say we have 1.7 million people in this state. Half of them is black. Let's just say 60% of them is black. The other 40% is white. Legally, for taxation purposes and representation purposes, South Carolina does not have enough representation to have their state's interest. You see what I'm saying there? So not only are they, getting paying more in taxes, because technically it's lesser than paying taxes, even though they have a high number of quote unquote individuals in that state. Enslaved people didn't pay taxes. So the white people ends up paying more taxes because of the simple fact that there is less of them. Okay, so you got taxation and then you got representation. If you take South Carolina, they had less white people, so meaning take South Carolina and then you take a state like Georgia. So let's just say if South Carolina had 40% of white people living in it, let's just say Georgia had 55%. That means Georgia will receive more representation than South Carolina. If you see what I'm saying. So that was the whole problem, which is why they came up with the 3/5 compromise in the first place. All right. So they came up with the 3/5 compromise to solve the issue of states having enslaved people outnumber the actual American citizen population. And they did this because they wanted to determine direct taxation and representation in the House of Representatives. Okay. All right. So I have another photo up here that pretty much explains a little bit more of what the Three-Fifths Compromise was. So here it says the states in the North and in the South could not agree on how slaves would be counted in the population. That was the problem. So it was decided that every 5 slaves counted as 3 people for taxation and representation purposes. Right? I just say that? I just said if you had states like South Carolina that the black population outnumbered the white population, then we just gonna count. These white motherfuckers said said we just gonna count for every 5. We just gonna count these 3 as people. Like what? So yeah. All right. So once again, the Three-Fifths Compromise that came out in 1787. All right. So by the time you get to the Reconstruction period, which is about 90 something, 80 to 90 years after that, all right, you have, remember, so we went from, the reason I explained the Three-Fifths Compromise is to put in perspective how many in numbers Black people made up. Okay, we made up a lot of numbers, and as it pertains to our population here during slavery in America. So by the time slavery then ended, 1865, we had the Reconstruction period. Okay, so the Reconstruction period was from 1865 to 1877. 12 years after the end of the Civil War and the abolition of slavery, former slaves made meaningful political, social, and economic gains during this Reconstruction era. Okay? Black men were able to vote and they held public office across the South. Black literacy surged. So Black people were barred, forcibly barred from learning how to read and write during slavery. So once we out that shit, baby, we about to learn how to read, learn how to write, all that good stuff. And we did it so well that our literacy rates surpassed those of some white people. Okay, so you had, let's just say you take one all Black town whose literacy, yeah, we working on it, right? And we're succeeding at it. You go to another town, could be all white, and that town is behind. So yes, Black literacy surge surpassing those of whites in some cities. Okay. You had Black schools, Black churches, and Black social institutions were also thriving during this time. All right. I also have a historian who estimated that when the Reconstruction era ended, there was about 2,000 Black men who held some type of official position in the government. All right. And then you also had a lot more who were political organizers and newspaper editors. In Congress, you had 210 Black Americans that served in the House of Representatives, and you had 29 that were, I want to say, the state. Hold on, let me see something. Let me see if I can. Oh my gosh, hold on. My bad, y'all. First and foremost, could you not? There we go. Let's go back. Hold on right quick. I'm about to. I'm sorry, y'all. I had to see something. All right. So you had 210 Black men who were in the House of Representatives, and you also had 29 who served. I look real sweaty or something? Who served in the state senate. Okay. All right, and here's just another photo that I wanted y'all to look at. You feel me? Of the times. And then my state, my favorite state, South Carolina. I love South Carolina because of the history. Like, South Carolina has a lot of history, and I'm here for it. I'm truly am here for it. Hold on really quickly. Hold on. I need a Timothy. I need you. Can you please? You hear him talking about some don't be calling me on live. Boy, who you think you is? Can you go get me a spoon? Child, I don't give a damn. Okay, y'all on my time. All right, I'm just playing. But nah, anyway, like I said, the Reconstruction era, South Carolina has a lot of history behind it when it comes to Black history, of course. Like I said, South Carolina had the largest Black population. It was 57 to 58. Thank you. 57 to 58% of the state that was Black. Okay. Also, by the time Reconstruction came, 1,500 Black people, Black men had held office. All right. I'm sorry. Let me backtrack. Out of the 1,500 Black office holders, okay, so out of about the 2,000 to 1,500 to 2,000 Black men as a whole that represented the House of Representatives in the state Senate, 300 or so of those men came from South Carolina. That's how big and massive the Black population in South Carolina was. All right, it was 57 to 58% Black. Let me see here. What did it say here? Let me see. Hold on. Let me give me a second. All right, and then you had 315 Black men that served in every state position, in every office position at the state and federal level. All right. What else here? Oh, South Carolina was the only state that had a Black majority in the legislature during this time. At the state level, there were 2 Black lieutenant governors, the treasurer and secretary of state were Black. Okay? So put that into perspective. Think about how much power, political power, came from just having these Black men all together, coming together, teaming up, and creating plans for the community. And not only creating the plans, but actually having the means and the power to actually implement those plans. Great stuff. Okay, great stuff. So, Reconstruction era in South Carolina continued something like this. You had 6 Black men who served in Congress that were from South Carolina. You had tax assessors, pension agents, postmasters, and customs officials. You also had just, in general, Black folk that held local positions ranging from justice of peace, the sheriff, and school board officials. Mind you, we all had, this is not, let's look at the time period. If you look at the time period, this is right after slavery. Okay, this is from, we got quote unquote emancipated in 1865. This is 1866, 1867, 1868. Like, literally, like, we are making these strides. Okay, making successful strides, meaningful strides to get to the next level in society, to, quote unquote, pick ourselves up from the bootstraps and build our community. But guess what? We had hating ass motherfuckers. That's who we had. That's what we had. We had some haters that wanted to block our shine because we was getting too good. You understand what I'm saying? So when you talk about Black paranoia, is it really paranoia, or is it just history that we see repeating itself? Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and go on to the next slide. All right. And this is the some of the men who had held those positions, the Senate, Congress, etc. All right. So during this time, you still had racism during this time, right? So, the Democratic press called Black legislators and constitutional conventions magnaries and monkey houses. All right, menageries. That's what I mean. Menageries and monkey houses. A menageries is pretty much like it's how can I put this? How can I put this? It's not the N word, but it's close to the N word. All right. It's very disrespectful. Um and then you also had white Democrats who made accusations of Black politicians being illiterate and propertyless. So pretty much you had people saying, you know what, I don't know why these people are involved anyway. Why are they involved? Okay. Why are they involved? Why are they involved in politics when they were literally just slaves? Like that was their mindset. Okay. Um a menagerie and monkey houses is what is what we were is what they said that we were. We were similar to animals being kept in a damn zoo, and we were pretty much like monkeys. That's pretty much what they thought of us, right? And like I said before, the accusations of Black politicians being illiterate and propertyless were false, because the 1870 census that had came out revealed that most Black politicians were not illiterate and most own property. All right. So remember in my last live, last week, I stated that you did have some folks that, when we talk about old money in the Black community, this is the time period that I'm talking about. Those folks, those Black families that were able to place their family in such an economic in such a financial, I guess, and such an economic, that when we talk about that, what is it? Generational wealth, right? So when we talk about those old Black families that come from old money, these are the folks that I'm talking about. When slavery, ended, and we start to get into the 1870s and toward the 1880s and stuff like that, you had Black families who were definitely prominent, right? They were prominent, and they were able to go ahead and create that generational wealth to kickstart that generational wealth for their family during this time. And you had a lot of those people, like I said, they were politicians. They did own most of their land, and they were not illiterate. Simple as that. Like, they went out, got up, and get something. Like, I don't know what other folks was doing. But it even got to the point where Georgia tried to erase Black officials from their history altogether. After Democrats had got control of Georgia's government, Alexander Abrams announced he was going to pretty much erase the black lawmakers from history. That's pretty much what he said that he was going to do. And he did, because do you hear for my people who live in Georgia, I was I didn't necessarily teach like historic subjects when I dealt with youth in Georgia. I pretty much did more of youth development. So I was in the school, but I was not a teacher. Okay. But I do understand that Georgia, at a certain grade, Georgia has a history class where they only focus on the state of Georgia. And I'm pretty sure that they don't talk about the black people, the black politicians who actually, had an impact on the state of Georgia. They don't talk about that shit because, like I said, you had a little motherfucker here, Alexander Abrams, who announced that he was going to get rid of the history of black lawmakers, period. So there you have it. So is it really paranoia? Is it really paranoia when you literally have people telling you that, yeah, we're going to erase your contributions from history? Like, is it really paranoia? I don't think so. But yeah, Alexander Abrams wrote, I am not going to include these black legislators because it would be absurd to record the lives of men who were but yesterday are slaves and whose past careers embrace such occupations as boot blacking, shaving, table waiting, and the like. So like I said, white people thought they was too good. Excuse me. White folks thought they was better than black people simply for the fact that they still looked at them as slaves. Like they still looked at them as enslaved people. Like yesterday you was just waiting my table. Yesterday you was just blacking my shoes. Yesterday you was just giving me a shade. Now today you want to come up and try to run some shit, try to run my country. That's pretty much what the white people was saying. And the white folks was not having that shit. They was not having that shit. So white Americans, they fought very hard to steal and leave black vote. Oh shoot. Black voters, they paid them, they tried to bribe them, they did voter intimidation. During the Reconstruction period, you had redemption. So you had black people who were Reconstruction. So when we talk about Reconstruction, we are reconstructing not just ourselves, but we need to reconstruct our families, right? So we're in this phase of reconstruction, are reconstructing ourselves, reconstructing our families, reconstructing our community. And you got these hating ass white people that was trying to redeem themselves. Okay, so we were in the phase of reconstruction. White people were in the phase of redemption, meaning they want that shit back in blood. All right, let's keep it up. So as you can see here, this slide just pretty much shows voter intimidation. Like like man trying to go and get, go vote, and you got these two folks over here with guns pointed at them. Like, come on. Let's keep it a bean. All right. So redemption was designed to reverse black advances. So all those advances that we made, being in the House of Representatives, being at the state Senate, being in, holding office in a government position, holding power in a government position, whether it be, like we had just stated before, whether it be the postmaster, whether it be the justice of the peace, all that shit. They wanted all that shit to go. White redeemers wanted all that shit to go. They wanted all of the black people who held a political position to leave. Okay, so the redemption effort was organized by white merchants, planters, white businessmen, and white politicians that followed Reconstruction. Okay. Um, these redeemers employed vicious racial violence and state legislation as tools to prevent black citizenship and equality promised under, what is that, the 15th Amendment? Let me see something. I'm gonna have to change it. Yes, under the 15th and 14th Amendments. Okay. So let me say that one more time because I don't think y'all understood what I was saying. So the redemption time is when white folks organized the plot, the intricate plots for black people to succumb to their downfall. All right. So this redemption period was a time where white people, white men specifically, white merchants, white planters, white businessmen, and white politicians got together and they employed vicious racial violence and state legislation as tools to prevent black citizenship and equality promised under the 14th and 15th Amendment. All right. So is it still paranoia when you have another group of people who literally plot on your demise? Like, is it still paranoia or no? You let me know. All right. So the government across the South instituted laws known as Black Codes. Okay. Black Codes. Black Codes granted certain legal rights to Black people, including the right to marry, own property, and sue in court. But the codes also made it illegal for Blacks to serve on juries. This is before, like, this is before Jim Crow. This is Jim Crow before Jim Crow. Black codes. All right. So this is how we get from here to the Jim Crow era of Black people just getting blamed for shit. Black people just getting blamed for shit, getting caught up in shit that we have no dealings with. Not being able to serve on the jury to make a difference on that jury, to be like, hey, I know, Leroy was here on this place, but y'all saying he did this. I don't think. No, it was none of that shit, and it was purposely done because they seen what we could do as a collective. All right. So Black codes granted certain legal rights to Blacks, including the right to marry, own property, and sue in court. But the codes also made it illegal for Blacks to serve on juries, testify against whites, or serve in state militias. All right. The Black codes also required Black sharecroppers and tenant farmers to sign annual labor contracts with white landowners. If they refused, what did I say? My bad. I'm sorry, y'all. I can't see on my end. I'm gonna have to lift it up. Okay, yeah, there we go. If they refuse, they would be arrested and hired out for work. So going back to my last live stream when we talked about the economic plight of Black America, we talked about sharecropping. Okay, we talked about sharecropping. In this case, when we talk about Black codes, right? I didn't really touch on it on my last live, but in this case, you see how Black codes also required Black sharecroppers and tenant farmers to sign annual labor contracts with white landowners. Now, you didn't have to be a sharecropper. You could have, did something else if you wanted to do that. But requiring someone to sign an annual labor contract with you, baby, that's just is that not just modern day slavery? And then if I refuse, so you're forcing me to sign a contract with you to work on your land so you could get the crops and then pay me pennies on the dollar in return. All right. And if they did not agree to sign this contract, they would be arrested and hired out for work. So pretty much modern day damn slavery. Because if they refuse, you'll be arrested and hired out for work. You're not gonna get paid for that. That damn whoever arrested you was gonna get paid for that. So these was the black codes. All right. This was Jim Crow before we named Jim Crow. You also had the rise of the KKK during this time too. And I'm sorry. I don't know how like the picture looks. I got this sun behind me and it keep going in and out because of the clouds and stuff. So just bear with me. It's a lot going on. So in the early 1900s, we're still on white redeemers. Okay. Right. White redeemers were the people who pretty much was like, yeah, we gotta stop these black folk. These black folk, they getting too successful. These black folk, oh baby, they getting too powerful. Oh, we gonna have to come and put that to an end. Let's not do that now. Let's not do that. So in the early 1900s, nearly every southern state had barred black citizens not only from voting, but also from serving in public office, on juries, and in the administration of the justice system. So we had no say in this shit in the South. We were barred, meaning we were not allowed to vote. We were not allowed to serve in public office, nor we were allowed to serve on a jury, nor we were allowed to damn just work in a damn in a place that helped out the justice system. We couldn't do none of that shit by the early 1900s. Okay. By 1913, Woodrow Wilson was president and he instituted rigid segregation in federal offices in Washington and cleaned out all of the remaining black patronage officials. So remember those gains, right? We had in the 1800s, 1870s, we had 2,000 black men, all right? 2,000 black men who held these positions in public office. You had black men being able to vote, because remember, we're not talking about black women right now. That's a whole nother topic. Women in general right now, when we talk about these time periods, it was all about the men, unfortunately. So black men could vote before this 1900s, in the 1870s, 1880s, black men was, voting, serving in public office. By the pretty much by the mid 1900s, baby, none of that shit is a go. None of that shit is a go. Why? Because you had a person in there who pretty much was a redeemer himself. He didn't want to see black people in the damn White House. Clearly, he segregated federal offices in Washington and he completely removed everybody that was black. Everybody that was black. He removed them from office. So once again, my people, is it really, when we talk about white supremacy, first of all, this shit should show you that, yeah, it's a thing and it exists. For another group of individuals who plot against the demise of another group of people, what the hell do you call that? What do you call that? In my mind, I call it, because they white, I'm gonna call it white supremacy. Because it's not like, the white people, they was like, you know what, cool, we'll just make our own little kumbaya over here. That's not what happened. That's not what happened. Y'all literally, white folks, got together and strategically planned to get rid of Black people that held offices in public service who were voting, and you didn't like it because they were doing it better than you. White people didn't like that shit because they couldn't fathom how a group of people who they enslaved for generations was doing better than them when they ain't had nobody that when white people weren't enslaved and they was still behind and we was doing better than them. Pretty much that's what they was upset, and they did not want us to continue to succeed and continue to do better than them. Okay, so what the hell do you call that? That's not, no, this is all history facts. Like, this is history. Like, this is history. These things were said, they were recorded down. You know, this is in the history books. Actually, let me rephrase that. It's not in the history books, but this is history that they asses do not want to acknowledge. So, like I said, I don't think Black people, when it comes to this white supremacy, we are not paranoid. Like, white supremacy is just not this paranoia. It's not about, oh, your feelings being hurt. No, it's a systemic system that affects real people, my people. Okay, so let's keep it moving. Like I said, I ain't trying to have y'all up here all day trying to keep it an hour, but I think I think this is actually it. Yeah. Okay. So, after Woodrow Wilson decided to segregate federal offices in DC, and after he cleaned up the remaining of the Black men who held public office, okay, Black folks did not Black folks did not have political power until the 1920s and early 30s. 1920s and 30s, okay? And that political power moved from the South to the North. So as Black people start to leave the South, move up to the North, Northeast, really, the East Coast. Remember, we had this great migration, okay, starting around this time in the 1920s or so. So you have Black people moving away from the South, going up to the North, and this is where we see a reemergence of Black men in government positions. And then really, when it came to voting, Black people weren't able to vote until the damn Voting Act of 1965. To put it in perspective with you, I have an uncle that was born in 1968. So once again, you may look at this shit and be like, oh my gosh, that was so long ago. No, it was not that damn long ago. It was not that long ago. Like, it's not even 60 years yet since we've been able to vote. And then it wasn't until the 1960s where you actually saw the rise of Black Americans holding political positions in significant numbers. You did not see a rise in Black Americans holding political positions in the South until the 1960s and 70s. That's a damn shame. That's a shame. 100 years after your ass has been emancipated, it took 100 years for your ass to it took 100 years after your ass was emancipated to vote and to hold political office in the South. That's a damn shame. Crying shame, crying shame. And y'all think that white supremacy don't exist. Y'all think that when we talk about systemic racism, this shit just don't compute. Y'all think when we talk about this shit, we just talking about hurt feelings, not realizing that it took a system, a group of people to come together and say, nah, we're going to put a stop to this shit. And this is how we're going to do it. That's strategically and that's systematically. Not only did you do this shit, like not only did you start the shit, you kept doing this shit, and you not only did you start it, the shit got worse and worse and worse as time went on. Because you went from black codes to now Jim Crow. Segregation. Remember black codes. And I'm almost done. Is this it? Yeah. Remember, black codes didn't include segregation. Jim Crow is what said, now we're going to separate this shit straight down the middle. Whites over here, blacks over there. Straight like that. And I don't want to hear nothing else about it. Okay? So when we go back and we talk about black codes did not include segregation. It just said, we can't serve on no jury, we can't testify against white folks, and we can't serve in the state militia. And if you was a sharecropper, then damn it, you had to sign a labor contract with your land with your landowner. That's what the black codes were. Jim Crow is when we actually get into segregation, and black only bathrooms, white only bathrooms, white only water fountains, black only water fountains. So once again, it got worse. Of being in a country where you have this one nation, right? What we say, one nation under God, but it's not one nation. How you gonna be one nation when you literally have? And I keep saying, Jim Crow, but we keep talking about Jim Crow, right? And we always think about the South, but we really don't be thinking about Jim Crow as it relates to the East Coast, the Midwest, and even in the West. Because even though it wasn't illegal, even though the Midwest and the Northeast and the West, it wasn't a legality, it wasn't a law. Like, yeah, we laying down the law like this is it, and this is, it wasn't overt. You best to believe that shit was covert. And you best to believe like it was a what did they say? A unstated type of understanding. Like it was something that wasn't said, but it was something that was understood, if you see what I'm saying. And that's how the Midwest and the Northeast and the West operated. Like that's how the fuck they operated. So when we talk about Jim Crow, like I'm the Jim Crow was not just in the South. Like that shit was everywhere. Granted, in the South, it was overt. Like, yo, we not putting up with this bullshit. But in other places, it was unsaid truth. Unsaid truth. Okay? So, going through all of that, right? Going through from the time period of Reconstruction, Black people building themselves, trying to do better for themselves, their families, and their community, to you literally had these ball busters who came in, these white ball busters. I know it says white redeemers, but I don't give a damn. I'm calling them white ball busters who came up in there and devised the plan to create your downfall. All right? That's not no damn paranoia to me. These are truths. These are facts. This shit can be researched. But yet, I have people every day when I talk about this shit come to me and say white supremacy don't exist or systemic racism don't exist. What? When you literally have the history that lets you know what the hell is going on. But see, you're not going to learn this shit in school. This is shit that I had to learn outside of school. This is shit that I actually had to research on my own time. Okay? And I'm here to tell you, to let you know, so you will be better informed. All right? And to move accordingly, knowing that at the end of the day, there is an enemy out there against Black people, and it is white supremacy. Whether white people want to admit it or whether Black people want to admit it, it is what the hell it is. And you keep thinking that you, myself, and other people like-minded as me are paranoid. Baby, we not paranoid. We know this shit exists. I'm gonna need you to understand, and you need to know that this shit exists too, and you need to move accordingly. Okay? So that's it. That's all. That's all I got for my soapbox today. I hope you all understood me. I hope I just didn't sit my ass up here and ramble. Like I said, the topic of the day was a history of Black paranoia. And I just really want y'all to let me know, like, do you think teaching about white supremacy is a form of paranoia? Is a form of paranoia? Do you think that it's not? Like, tell me your thoughts. Tell me what you think. Tell me what you learned. So we could discuss. Like I said before, I'm still trying to work some kinks out on YouTube. So this video will be uploaded to YouTube after. And yeah, until then, I'm gonna need y'all to do me a favor. Stop what you're doing right now and learn something. Okay? Please learn something. Because as you can see, some of y'all ain't learned shit. I'm just playing. But no, for real though. Stop what you're doing. Take the time out to learn something, or history will repeat itself. History has the funny way to do that. If you ain't learn your lesson the first time, history will repeat. And you better learn your damn lesson the second, third, fourth time. Okay? So until then, my lovelies, it's been real. Thank you for tuning in with me on the second episode of the many ways white supremacy has got me fucked up. Okay. Follow us on Instagram at R4S Productions. What else? Look forward to next week. We'll be discussing some good stuff next week. I haven't really like I know what I'm gonna do, but I haven't I have my shit lined up, but I don't know which topic I want to talk about next week. So just stay tuned, okay? And yeah, have a nice Saturday. School will be in session. Saturday school will be in session, same time, 9 a.m. on Station Head, Twitch, and YouTube live. All right. Okay. So, and I also have my bad, y'all. And I'll have these sources posted somewhere somehow. Okay. All right. So until next time, love you. Bye. And remember to stop what you're doing and learn something, or history will repeat. Okay. Okay. Bye bye.